Welcome back to the Physical Therapy San Pedro podcast. This is episode 47, and today we are going to give you guys awesome tips on how to help speed up your recovery. I am your host, Dr. Janae Brown, and I am joined by our amazing team of physical therapists here. To my left is
Dr. Silverton to win.
And to my right,
Dr. Bay and Dr. Yana.
Awesome. Okay. Dr. Yana might have forgot her name right there. She's like, what's my name?
She is here with us.
She is here. Well, I wrote this blog this month. This is 2 in a row for me. So woo-woo, I'm the writer of the year. They love when I write. But I wrote on this particular topic because I feel like, athletes have usually 2 major questions that they want to know about. How do I speed up my recovery? And when do I get to go back? Those are the 2 things that we're often asked. And since the second question is very patient dependent, very athlete dependent, very injury dependent, we're tackling the first one today and going to give you guys some awesome tips that we feel like most people can generally apply to help them speed up their recovery. So I'm going to list these 10 items for you guys, and then we are going to all discuss each one of a few of these on our own with you guys. So the first one is understand the injury. The second one is emphasize rest and protection early on. The third tip is gradual rehabilitation. The fourth is use active recovery techniques. The fifth is incorporate cross-training. The sixth is nutrition, fuel for recovery. The 7 is get enough sleep. The 8th is mental conditioning. The 9th is utilize modalities as appropriate. And the last one is listen to your body. So those are our 10 things we're going to discuss and break down some things that you guys can apply right away. So I'm going to cover the first 2. Understanding the injury is the first one. So basically with an injury, if you don't really understand the nature and the severity of the injury, then you might not understand what you're getting into in terms of recovery. So we encourage that you figure out what the problem is. Is it a muscle strain? Is it a ligament sprain? Is it a rupture? Is it a tendinosis? Is it a fracture? Understanding the injury is important, and getting with someone like a sports physical therapist to help you have a good evaluation and good explanation of that can be helpful as well. But if you don't really understand what you're dealing with, then it could be more challenging in terms of understanding the recovery that you're up against. And so I think that for me in particular, I don't know if you guys, but I spent a lot of time sort of in my initial consultation kind of explaining these types of things to our patients in that first appointment. Do you guys feel like your patients have a good understanding of their injuries when they come in for your appointments, or do you feel like they don't for the most part? Anybody want to weigh in?
I think it's across the board. Some people are better attuned to their bodies than others. Some people have no idea what's going on, and we see everything in between. And since we deal with injuries on a daily basis, it's easier for us to determine where people are at in their rehabilitation process and helping guide people to where they should be at that point in time, whether you need a push or you need a pull back on it.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts?
An interesting one now is the people that have done too much research and trying to clarify, where we're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. The people who are going on Google more and going, okay, well, this is what I was told, that I have like a ankle sprain and it's a grade 3. So that means that I should be back in, whatever, 4 or 6 weeks or whatever. And you're like, well, yeah, you have to do a little bit more. It's not that straightforward all the time, right? Those are guidelines. Yeah. Yana?
I always find it interesting, when I look over the intake forms and when I note different lifestyle factors and how that's going to play a role in their rehab process, in regards to how good they're sleeping, how often, were they working out before the injury, or were they not, or were they sedentary, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So understand your injury, and that's definitely going to help you speed up your recovery. That's number 1. Number 2 is emphasize rest and protection early on. And so initially when you have an injury, the goal is to protect that injury and not make it worse. So when we say emphasize rest, we mean if you're a soccer player, then resting from your sport, you don't get to play soccer anymore. You can't do that. And you have to figure out what you can do and you can't do. But oftentimes there's a protection period on any injury where you need to let the tissue heal and calm down, because there's often swelling or pain, or things that are going to make your injury worse. Weight bearing sometimes could make that worse depending on the injury. So finding out what are the things that I need to do to protect this injury. And some of that comes from education from your physicians or from your physical therapists, to kind of guide you on what can I do and what can't I do. But we really want you to continue ultimately moving and doing things that feel good, because the things that's going to help you also recover quicker as well. So the key with this one is to protect the problem, protect the healing process of the specific thing that was injured. For example, if you tore a ligament in your ankle, you're going to protect that ligament tear, but and you might be in a boot for a little bit, and you can walk with the boot on, or you might be out of the boot, but you're not able to run yet. So but maybe you can do upper body exercises. Maybe you can do other things. You want to protect the problem, but continue moving, and don't stay on the couch and do nothing, right? That's not good for you, right? So, but you want to keep doing the things that feel good while also protecting and respecting the healing process that we need to have. So, do you guys feel like your patients do a good job of this?
I think they need a lot of guidance
Yeah.
on how to do this well.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
It's rare. It's typically a pretty nuanced sort of thing, taking into all different parts of what's going on. If they're had a period of sedentariness, or where they had to wean back a lot because of the boot,
Mhm.
or offloading, then we have to deal with those things as well. So most people need guidance in
Yeah.
some way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys agree?
Definitely.
Okay. We're going to head into the next few, and Dr. Bay is going to take us away.
Yes, thank you.
I rhymed that.
So number 3 is gradual rehabilitation. That's where we enter. And hopefully when we see our patients, they're coming from that phase that Dr. Brown just discussed, the rest and protection phase. Hopefully they're not coming in, progressed too far past that, making bad decisions. But the goal when we first start rehab is to start gently, where I tell lots of patients this is my pain control stage. The goal is, can we do range of motion, activation, gentle things that don't stress the tissue, but still keep us moving and healing? Then as we pass through that pain control stage and the tissues are becoming more resilient, then we can progress into our strength and rebuilding type phase. And this is going to target the injured area, but most importantly, the surrounding areas. Depending on the type of injury, it may have been influenced by the joints either above or below. So very commonly in PT, you're going to see your therapist targeting not just your injured area, but for example, if it's a knee, looking at the core, the hip, and then the ankle and foot below, those all play together for a very healthy and strong knee. The next one is active recovery techniques, and I'm a huge fan of this. This works really well for my body, but the idea is to promote healing with lower intensity techniques like swimming, cycling, walking, anything along that kind of genre. I like a lot of foam rolling as well. For me, or Pilates, that can be great active recovery as long as it's low intensity, so it can really keep circulation going and we can reduce stiffness while we still continue to move. I feel that if I've made myself too sore from a workout or training, that I actually get less sore quicker by using active recovery techniques. The next one is incorporating cross training. And this is something I'm constantly lecturing patients and the dancers I work with on. But it's very important to keep our body balanced. And we really want to prevent, while we're injured, the loss of our muscle mass or our cardiovascular conditioning. So this means that if we've had a lower body injury, we can really keep probably targeting our core muscles and our upper body while we let our lower body heal. And then we're also going to be able to just maintain a lot that we won't lose if we weren't cross training. So very, very important not to skip.
Yep. That was 3. So let's go back to the gradual rehab one. So I feel like this is one where it goes well because we control the process. But
love that.
depending on who you work with, though, like, if, I think as you've been a clinician longer, you get better at number 3. And so you have the opportunity to understand your patients better and understand exacerbation a little better. Some physical therapists are really not good at not exacerbating their patients. So their patients leave their sessions and they're like more sore, or they hurt more, or something is more aggravated, or and that shouldn't happen really. If you're doing it right, you're gonna leave your session and feel better, and definitely not feel worse. And then when you come back, you'll be on track. So now there are things that you guys are going to do, and potentially we're going to do, because we got to try things. Like sometimes we just don't know. We're like, let's try this. You seem like you're going to be able to do this. And sometimes we fail, and sometimes you guys will fail because you'll think, oh, well, I can do this. And we didn't clear you. And you just go, you think that you can do it. So you go do it. So we're both going to fail, and that's okay. Because typically when you're moving forward, like you don't go too far back if you have an exacerbation, typically, unless you did something really bad, like went and played in a game and didn't tell us and you weren't ready for that. That could be bad. But and tore something else, or sprained something else, or did something else. But typically this process goes pretty well because we're involved in it and we can kind of educate and help you guys. So do you guys agree that, like,
I like to always say I'm making educational guesses.
Yeah.
Like
Hypothesis.
science-based guesses all the time.
Yeah. Good hypothesis.
And with our patient clinical expertise over the years, we get closer and closer to making the right guess every time.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like as a new clinician, I gave my patients like 1,000 million exercises to do, and I just, I'm like, let's just do it all. And you get, and then you get better, and you get more, you just get experience. And then you start to go, okay, we don't need to do all of these things. We just need to do some of these things. And yeah. And you just learn, like, also just things that the patient needs for that particular injury. So you get better over time. Yeah. Any thoughts? Anybody else have any thoughts on gradual rehab?
Yeah, over time. I try to, as best as I can, to incorporate not working the same muscle group, back to back, giving that patient a little rest in between with, opposing muscle groups.
Mm-hmm.
So again, to not exacerbate.
Yeah, just like we would tell them, in a workout or on their own to do, like, you don't work the same muscle group like 2 days in a row, and, give your body time to heal and balance. So yeah, that's good.
We were joking when I had to consult on one of the other doctor's patients about how it looked like he was doing push days every day.
Yes.
We did a lot of education there.
Yeah. And sometimes you come behind somebody else. When you have a good team and you're working really together and you're communicating, you get less of that come behind and have a problem. But sometimes in certain environments, it can be difficult. Sometimes you come behind someone and you want to fix something or change something, and you have to be careful and respect the other person's plan and things like that. And, yeah.
Yeah, that one was patient driven.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
That was patient education.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So the fourth one that Dr. Bay went over was using active recovery techniques. Do you guys have any extra thoughts on active recovery techniques? Is there some that you guys feel work better than others? Maybe you guys can share the things that you like in terms of active recovery. Dr. Bay gave a little bit of her own personal stuff, but does anybody have any thoughts on active recovery?
What I typically tell my patients to do is do the thing that's closest to what it is that you want to get back to doing in a way that doesn't aggravate what you're doing. So if you want to run, and you had a choice of keeping up your cardio between bicycle or elliptical is a little bit closer to running than a bicycle. If you can't elliptical, then do whatever you can to keep your cardio up. So in which case it might be a bicycle after all, until you can make those steps towards running again. And then the other thing is, I'll always get on some patients' cases where they have an injured, say in your example, a sprained ankle. I'll tell them, well, you have another leg and 2 other arms, so you got to work out those too.
That goes into our cross training conversation too. But yeah, these kind of bleed into each other, because the active recovery is like a little more just keep moving, and cross training is kind of similar, in that sense. Did you have any thoughts on there, Dr. Yana?
Yeah, I would agree with Dr. Silverton. I usually mention do what you can, without exacerbating your current state, as close in function as possible to the thing you want to get back to doing. And I'm also a huge fan of swimming. So if they do ever mention that, they do aquatic therapy or have access to a pool, I'll usually say, oh, that's a great form of exercise, low impact, usually doesn't, aggravate anything.
Yeah, it's good. And that fifth one was cross training, which is kind of, we tapped into that a little bit as well. But basically the key is here is, do other stuff,
Mhm.
do things. Don't not do things.
Yeah. Don't be too scared.
No
Yeah.
couch potato.
No couch potatoes.
Yeah.
We don't
Stay
like couch.
strong. And it's possible. Like that boot example,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much you can do in a boot and still protect the injury.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Just don't whine on the couch and stare at your boot. It's not going to do anything. Okay. So we're going to go into the next three, and Dr. Yana is going to take us through those.
All right.
Take it away.
Okay, so our next point is nutrition. So it's super important that you're still maintaining a well-balanced diet to assist in your recovery process. Examples of this would be a diet rich in protein, which is essential for tissue repair, and also incorporating things like leafy greens, berries, and fish to help with the inflammation that may be going on. Also important is staying hydrated with water, with things like water and electrolyte beverages. And this helps with nutrient transport in the body and waste removal, both of which are really important for healing. Next is sleep. And this is one of my favorite topics. Sleep is often overlooked because I feel like in our society, it's like that hustle and grind culture. People think, oh, I'll just sleep when I'm dead. No, I definitely don't agree with that. I think sleep is so important because it allows, it gives your body that chance to rest and recharge for the next day, not just your body, but also your brain and your mind. During sleep, your body releases something called growth hormones, which facilitate tissue repair. You want to aim for at least 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. And there's things you can do to improve, like a good night's rest. These things are trying to go to bed at the same time every night. You want it to be a dark and cool environment. Sometimes deep breathing techniques will help, and meditation techniques before bed also help. And yeah, it'll just help basically maximize the recovery process. And then our other point is mental conditioning. So sleep actually plays into this because if your mind is rested for the next day, it's going to help your mental state in regards to staying positive about your condition and your rehab process. So with mental conditioning, visualization could also work for you. This is where you kind of go over the sport or the activity you want to get back to doing and see yourself succeeding in it. Also important to not let setbacks get in your way because like we've mentioned before in previous podcasts, PT isn't always going to be linear and they're not going to be improving all the time. There are going to be some dips along that journey. And basically just keeping a positive attitude is going to help you in the long term.
It's good stuff. Okay, so these three are kind of grouped together. Is there one of these you guys feel like your patients struggle with during the recovery that you feel like more than another? Do you guys have any thoughts?
Mental conditioning comes to mind because because of a recent situation with a patient. He got really down on himself for where he was, or he keeps mentioning, oh, I used to be able to do this. I used to be able to do this. I'm like, you can still get back to it. Just,
Yeah.
it's all about that positive attitude.
Yeah, for sure. You guys, anybody else? Thoughts?
Sometimes they all go hand in hand also.
True.
Just
they all
because,
feed into each other.
Yeah, they don't feel too great about themselves. They start feeling like they can't do it as much. Then they start losing sleep over it. They don't eat as well. So yeah, it starts to spiral at some point
diet too. Yep.
So sometimes we end up being a bit of a cheerleader in that aspect too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
I end up doing a lot of education on sleep because I think it is such an important time for healing. So, but mine is more about positioning. Can they position themselves so the tissues are unloaded so they can actually not be stressed during the night and recover instead?
Yeah. I feel like sleep with acute pain is one it becomes sometimes difficult, like someone who has a really bad disc herniation or something where they just struggle to get sleep because of positioning, right? So I think that's huge to just helping your patients figure out and helping people figure out that are injured, how to sleep well and actually sleep through the night with the injury. But also what Dr. Yana said too is like, in our culture right now, sleep is not the thing that people really do a lot of. So a simple, easy thing to do is just sleep. Like just go to bed on time, wake up on time, and you'll feel better for it. So these things should be, sleep should be easy. Mental conditioning is hard. And if you feel like you're struggling with that, there's people out there that want to help you. So there are sports psychologists and psychologists that help with anxiety and stress and things like that. So if you're struggling with that, typically we try to help coach, like Dr. Silverton said, our patients through it and be their cheerleader and give them the little tidbits and things that we know. But ultimately, if you're really struggling to manage that, getting with someone who can help you lay good foundations and develop good strategies is really important. So, because you got to have, what is it? They say mind over matter, like wherever your mind is and wherever you think is going to happen. So, you want to make sure that you are positive in your recovery so that you can get to the end of it in a positive way. So, and nutrition's always hard just because, right? Like, depending on your diet,
Yeah.
Or how
you don't
busy
have a
you
good
are.
diet or you're busy or
Those are
food
fun
prepping.
conversations to have always.
Yeah. It's
Figure out what they're really putting in.
Yeah. Figure out what they're doing. And for me with concussion patients, it's so important. It's like one of the big things we do right in the beginning is like, you've got to have a clean diet so that your brain can heal and get the inflammation off around your body. So it's just important. Yeah. So if we could all have like amazing diets, life would be good, but we need personal chefs.
Yeah.
That would be
That's amazing
amazing.
food. All right, let's get to the last two. Dr. Silverton's going to end us out on the last two tips.
Last bit is going to be on modalities. Modalities being any sort of external therapeutic helpers, basically, to help mediate your pain, whether that's with ice baths, heat, electrical stimulation, cupping, taping, even offloading with crutches or anything like that, all falls under that. Typically, you find these early on in the rehabilitation process where we're trying to protect structures that are really aggravated. And then we gradually wean off of them as you don't need them as much anymore. As Dr. Yana mentioned at one point also already, it's never really a linear progression when we're going through the rehab process. So sometimes we have some relapses, some recurrences of irritation. So it's fine to bring back modalities throughout the rehabilitation process. But over time, things should be trending in an upward progression where you need them less and less to the point where you don't need them at all.
Yeah.
And then the last part is just listening to your body, seeing where it's at, checking in and seeing, does this feel right? Does it feel productive? And making sure that today is better than last week. Feeling where you need to stretch the things that need to get stretched, you're working things that need to get worked. So that way you're moving forward and you're stimulating the parts of your body that need to grow. Because if you don't move, you don't improve.
Ooh, I like that.
Move to improve. Thank you. Very good. Okay, so modalities. This is always like a hot topic because I feel like what I've at this point in my career, the way I approach modalities is, does it help? Okay, great, do it. Does it hurt? Okay, don't do it. Like honestly, it has a lot to do with your nervous system. And
Different for everybody.
Yeah. Some people don't want to be scraped. It feels like you're tearing their skin up. Like it makes their nervous system be like on edge. And some people love it. They're like, get in there, get that muscle, or get that tissue. I think everybody has like a little bit different of a perspective on things like, the modalities that we choose. So I think it's important that whatever you're doing on your own, like if you're taping, there's no right way. Like people will say like, well, should I tape? Should I cup? Should I ice bath? Should I try things? Try some things. Let your therapist try some things with you because they have things that they know they feel work and have been successful. Be open. But then at the end of the day, if it's not helping, we don't want to do it. Like we want to help you move along the continuum. And it's just not enough clear research with modalities to this point for us to say this thing works, period. So yeah. You guys have any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just am such a stickler with always using my reassessment signs. So I'll try a technique. And if it's not accomplishing my targeted goal, I'm moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I'm not going to keep going at it.
Yeah, for sure. Any
Pretty
other
much.
thoughts? Yeah. Cool. And then listening to your body. I think with this is just like common sense, right? I think you know when something doesn't feel good and you go listen, and pushing through that is just creating a problem for the future. So pain's a great signal. There's a reason why we have pain. And I think if we tune into that and listen to it, it can guide us. So it's not no pain, no gain, right?
Nope.
I saw that on the wall in the gym when I was out of town this weekend. It said no pain, no gain. I was like,
Did you cross it out?
I wanted to. It was like, it's like, but it was a gym. So different mindset, I guess.
Kind of.
Context,
I don't
different
know.
context.
I would call it
Yeah,
something else.
Right. I could have like,
No
was a mirror.
burn, no
No-
gain. I don't know.
No burn, no soreness, no gain.
I don't know.
I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I always think listening to your body gets harder as you feel better
Mm.
because, and this is something I'm experiencing right now, is the signs come later,
Mm.
or you can push harder for longer before it talks to you, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's important to take all that data in. And just because you did something successfully once doesn't mean it's okay still,
Mhm.
right? So just taking the data in and like, okay, well, let's scale back because the third time I did that,
Mhm.
then my body talked to me, you know?
Mhm.
So
Mhm. And that gradual progression is important too, because if you're
always, yeah,
doing it gradually, then you might know like this is okay for this amount of time or this amount of weight, but I'm not ready for the next thing. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Did you have something to say?
Nope.
Anybody else?
And just be super honest with us as well. Like, don't be afraid to describe exactly what you're feeling, or try to use as many as descriptive words with us, because that's only going to help us more. Like help us help you.
Yeah. Awesome. So you guys just got 10 awesome tips to help you. Those things help you if you are a patient, they help you while you're in the rehab process or you're experiencing an injury. They also can help you if you are on your own and you're just looking for some information to how to navigate your own injury and you don't really have anybody on your team yet. But hopefully you guys got a little bit of something from that you can take away and apply to what you're experiencing in your injury right now. So, yeah. I think that's it for the blog. If you guys if this is your first time tuning in with us, thank you for tuning in. We welcome you to go back and listen to the 46 other episodes we have on your favorite channel, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple. You can like and subscribe to our podcast or the YouTube page where you can watch us do these discussions with you. If you want to share a comment or you have a question, please drop those down. We'd love to answer and engage with you guys and get you some information through those. If you're currently experiencing an injury and you need some help, we'd love to help you. We offer physical therapy, strength and conditioning, personal training, prehab, all those things on site in our clinic in San Pedro. So if you live in Los Angeles, you can come into our clinic. And if you don't, then we also offer those things via telehealth as well. We also teach a weekly strength and conditioning class here for student athletes. So that's another opportunity for you as well. If you are looking to do some things from home, maybe you can't come into a clinic and you maybe don't want to do telehealth. If you go and check out our website, physicaltherapysanpedro.com, we have just started developing online programming and we released our first program, the ankle pain program. So you can check that out, purchase that, do it from home yourself and go through that program on your own. And do that independently. And I think that is all we have for you today. Yeah. Cool. Okay. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in.